Welcome to Outta Class, for all those lessons you didn't learn in school. Your overall health, fitness and well-being starts with the right mindset and having those meaningful conversations. This is your host, Grant Roberts. Let's get into it.
I'll teach you a lesson now.
Welcome back to the Outta Class Podcast. If the sound sounds different, I have upgraded my mics for reasons you will find out later on, but hopefully the sound is nice and crisp and I'm not talking too loud. I'll try and keep my voice to a controlled level, but obviously when I'm talking by myself, I can't really regulate like I'm talking to somebody else in the same room with me. Episode 56, as is titled, Is Your Partner Sabotaging Your Health? This might sound like a bit of a confronting topic, hopefully interesting, and most importantly, hopefully helpful for you. You know it's go time on my podcast. If you're watching this, got my coffee going. I always go with a Colombian blend of coffee these days. I can't really drink anything else. I mean, I can, but Colombian coffee, world renowned. My beautiful fiance is Colombian, so it definitely helps. Anyway, I'm going off topic already, but I quickly wanted to touch on, you might be thinking, why is he always wearing a hat, or why is he always so rugged up? It's because I live in Victoria in Australia and it is super cold here at the moment, especially where I live. Not only that, if you are watching this, you'll be thankful that I am wearing a hat because my head is super shiny, super healthy, but super shiny. I don't want to blind you while I am recording these episodes. So it's more strategic than anything else. All right, let's get into the episode. Is your partner sabotaging your health? I want to touch on a few points in this podcast and hopefully help you. I'm not Dr. Phil. I'm not a relationship expert, but when it comes to your health goals and getting fit, eating better, all these type of habits that we have when it comes to our health, it can realistically cause some strain in your relationship for many reasons, but hopefully after this it doesn't, and hopefully I don't cause any more tension or any breakups or something crazy from this episode. But I will talk from personal experience, of course, for a lot of this, and I will share a few statistics. So people sometimes blame their partner for their weight gain. It is a super common thing for people to say, oh, I want to lose weight, but my partner is sabotaging me. You might have heard this before yourself. You might have even said this before yourself. But as always, it's usually more complex than just one person causing another person's weight gain or even weight loss. But specifically, we're going to talk about weight gain because it is more common these days. People are more statistically, percentage-wise, overweight or obese these days. Okay, reasons for it. I'll go through probably like 7 different reasons, or the main reasons for this occurring, and you might relate to some of these, and try and touch on these from a personal experience and also from some study I have done on this, working with many clients all over the world. I am a personal trainer. I am a clinical nutritionist. I do a lot of this work, not just with individuals, but the topic of their partner does come up quite often. I'm not saying they're gossiping about their partner, but it is a factor when it comes to your personal health journey. Shared eating habits. Number 1, this is huge when it comes to individual health goals. So you might be on a health kick. You might be trying to control your calories in your daily intake, and your partner keeps bringing home high calorie foods into the house. Temptations. They want to have a pizza night on a random Wednesday and you're trying to stick to your chicken breast or your calories, and they bring that in the house, and it's causing difficulty for you to stick to your goals and stay consistent and stay disciplined when you see them eating that delicious stuffed crust pizza. They might be bringing home frequent takeaways or snacks for example, and they might be bringing home chocolate, biscuits, different temptations, and it's making it super difficult for you to stick to your goals. And you might feel personally attacked due to these actions. And I can speak from personal experience here. I'm the person in my relationship who brings home the naughty snacks, who might bring home the cheeky pizza on a regular basis, because I can eat more than my partner. I can consume more calories. I can get away with a lot more, what would you say, more flexible eating, because I'm educated enough to know how to do it. And also, I have very different goals to my fiance. She is cutting weight at the moment, or trying to maintain a lean physique, and I'm trying to deliberately put on some muscle. So we have to find a balance there between considering her eating habits and her temptations, and then also being able to stick to my goals and allow that flexibility. We do have a very good balance, I must say, speaking from experience, but in past relationships, this definitely caused some friction. Not just me bringing home snacks and takeaway foods and things, but also the fact that I always have for many years now, lived a very structured lifestyle when it comes to my health, to my fitness, it comes to my workouts. These things have always been priority to me, and I hold them to be very important in my life. So it has caused friction over time, and I'll touch on some more points as we go along. So they are some of the main issues that can come up if you're on a health kick and your partner mightn't be on the same health kick. Or I wouldn't even call it a health kick, because that sounds kind of like a fad. I would say if you are living a healthier lifestyle, you're choosing to try and live a healthier lifestyle, can cause a lot of friction. Another thing, when you are dating, you tend to go out a little bit more and try restaurants and cafes and share food together. Doing this more often is going to correlate with eating more foods in general. You're going to have a dessert, you might have a wine or a beer with your food, and the portions aren't controlled either. You're going to go out and eat, and you don't want to feel like you're being a burden on the date, or you're ruining the date by ordering certain foods or not ordering certain foods, staying away from certain things because you are trying to stick to your health goals. This can cause arguments, this can cause friction for sure, but these are things you need to factor in. You might be looking for a partner, you might be looking for a new relationship, and these are things you're going to have to take into account. If your health is your priority, you are going to have to think about these things. I didn't think about these things in some previous relationships, and it definitely caused a lot of friction. I'll give some examples as we go along, and definitely caused some arguments at times, and definitely caused some discomfort from both sides. Lifestyle changes after getting together. I did mention one there, going out, socializing, eating out more, trying different restaurants. That can obviously be a big change for some people. And less focus on maintaining a healthy physique. You would have heard the saying, I got in a relationship, or my partner or a friend I know got in a relationship and they just got comfortable in the relationship, which basically is a way of saying somebody let their health and fitness goals go. They stopped exercising as much. They stopped caring about the foods that they were eating, the calories they were consuming. So this is a huge factor also when being in a relationship or getting into a new relationship. I think it's a theme on this podcast to have a dog barking, at least at the start of the podcast. I can hear one now, so apologies for that. It mightn't even be going out and socializing either. So changes could be you stay at home more, you have more Netflix nights and movie nights and watching TV series. So fewer social activities, or activities that require energy expenditure. So going out walking, maybe you gave up sport, maybe you're playing sport 3 times a week, and since now you're in a relationship, you've made some compromise and it's gone down to once or twice a week. So just that increased lack of activity can cause your health to go by the wayside a little bit. I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say it. Your activity levels could increase a lot too, if you know what I mean. If you're in a new relationship and you're very attracted to each other, your activity levels could get quite high, which would be ideal, a very healthy relationship, if those extracurricular activities are going up. Uh, Social pressure. This can be a huge one. So this is number 3. So one partner may encourage eating larger portions, drinking alcohol, like I mentioned, or indulging in treats as a way of bonding. So you might feel that social pressure when you're out. You might be in a new friend circle or group. You might marry into a family who have huge meals all the time. I know for me, when I went over to Colombia with my fiance, I couldn't even get off my seat after the amount of food I was eating on certain days. You don't want to be rude and say no to food, so you overindulge for sure. And that could be a big factor there. And then also, if you refuse the food, you might create some tension, or family members or your partner might take some offense to that. Also, not for health reasons, but they might think you don't like the food, or you're not embracing, a certain culture or a certain family tradition, and this can cause tension too, leading to people eating more, either unconsciously or consciously, but just not feeling like they have a choice. So these are all examples and common reasons that you may feel that you're being sabotaged in your relationship. But we'll talk about this whole topic of being sabotaged later on, and the excuses for it and different factors that come into this topic. Reduced exercise opportunities, as I said. So it could be more responsibilities. Your partner mightn't have a license. You might have to drive them places or pick them up from work. Your routine may require you to take on more responsibilities. You might take on the shopping responsibilities. You might take on different errands that you previously didn't have to do and now you have to do. Could be childcare, household commitments, cleaning. All these type of factors come into place as well. So you're less active and may unintentionally be moving less. You might have time to walk to the shops. You might have to drive your car more often to get places. So you're just generally more inactive due to reduced opportunities to exercise, let alone get to the gym. I just mean in general, you might be able to move more, or you might be moving as more as you used to. With relationships, emotional factors are definitely going to come into the equation, are definitely going to become a factor. So you might get stressed, you might have some stress in your relationship. Even the perfect relationship is going to have some stress here and there. A conflict, you might have a fight, it might cause some kind of unhappiness at times, which can lead to things like emotional eating. I know for myself, I've always saw food as a bit of a comfort and something that I like to indulge in when I'm a little bit stressed, or the opposite, I won't eat, which is also common at times if I'm stressed. So it can happen to anybody. And like I said, some people use food as a coping mechanism through difficult periods of time. This is probably more common than people actually want to talk about, but it's definitely something these days that we have on abundance, being food that we can turn to and feel like we're in control of, but uncontrollably overconsume it or under consume food, and regulate this through our emotions, or have it unregulated due to our emotions. So the next 2 points are more on our perceptions, and this might be the more confronting part of this topic. And I'm going to go into the flip side of this also if this podcast doesn't go too long. As you can see, I'm trying not to talk too long. I always use the word ramble, so I'm trying not to use that too long, but I am trying not to ramble on too long in these episodes, and I feel like I'm going to improve more and more as I go along with these podcasts, of getting the points across, being efficient, but also being myself and staying unscripted as much as possible. Externalizing responsibility. Now, this is huge. This is one of the main points I wanted to make. with the title of this episode. Is your partner sabotaging your health? And you'll see with the title, I put a question mark there. Because is your partner really sabotaging your health? Or are you making choices that you know probably don't align with your health and fitness goals, but you have an external excuse now for your lack of actions, for your lack of discipline, for making poor choices overall for your health and fitness goals? Blaming your partner can be an easy way to verify your actions, to make them okay. You can be simply avoiding confrontation and not bringing up these things with your partner, these issues that might arise, or the changes that have been made since you've been in a relationship. Just simply blaming your partner rather than your own choices can be an easy cop-out. It's often psychologically easier to identify an external cause for actions rather than acknowledge personal responsibility. That is a huge point I wanted to make. Now, in previous relationships, this could have been to my own detriment. I've had relationships in the past, and I remember one of my first relationships that I was in was one of my first long-term relationships I was in my late teens, early 20s, was the time when I actually went through my whole body transformation. My health and fitness journey started during the time I was in a relationship, a really long-term relationship, not really long, I should say, a long-term relationship with somebody, and it definitely caused a lot of stress, a lot of changes. I definitely changed as a person as I became more fit and more healthy and more health focused. It put a lot of tension on our relationship, and I know for a fact this definitely was a big factor in us creating distance and becoming less, what's the word I'm trying to think of? See how unscripted I am with these podcasts? Less connected, I would say, less relatable, living a different lifestyle. So we drifted apart over time due to my health choices, and not for me consciously making these choices for us to drift apart or to separate, which ultimately did happen later on, but more so because I started to make healthier choices and live a different lifestyle. It definitely projected me going separate ways with my partner at the time. And I'm going to touch on this also because I think it's a very important part. I did talk about reduced exercise opportunities. Now, one of the biggest excuses people make, and it can be a legitimate excuse. I'm not saying you use it as an excuse because you have a choice. Sometimes you don't. I'm not saying that because different relationships have different responsibilities, or they allocate different responsibilities, and one person can take on more responsibility of a certain factor than somebody else. But I wanted to go back to reduced exercise opportunities and childcare in particular. So if you have kids, this brings a whole nother factor into your relationship. People might be shocked when I say this, but I've been in relationships. My first relationship with my partner, my long-term partner at the time, we ended up having full-time care of her baby sisters, and I mean 5 years old and under. So the youngest would have been 7 months old, a year old, not even in school, and the other daughter, or the other sister of my partner, was just starting school, and we were in our early 20s, and we were looking after 2 kids full time. So I'm not saying I know what it's like to parent full time for years and years, but I definitely had a few years where I was looking after 2 young children full time and trying to balance a healthy lifestyle and going to the gym. And I can say confidently that it can be done if you prioritize it. Do you have to make sacrifices to things like your sleep, like working out when you want to, like your meals? Yes, you definitely had to. Luckily, not even by choice, I chose to get up early. I chose to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning and get my workout done so then I could get the kids up for school on time. I could get them up by about 6:30 and 7 and get them ready for school, knowing it would take a few hours. I would get my breakfast ready and their breakfast ready before they got out of bed. I'd have my gym session done, my meals ready, their meals ready, and get them up for school and ready for school. So I was still prioritizing my health and fitness goals, even back then, even as I had transitioned my lifestyle to prioritize my health. I still had to make some sacrifices, being sleep, getting up that little bit earlier, making it easier to do that. And also, I had to make sacrifices when it came to things like dinner or lunch. I couldn't just have all my own foods for myself and cook something for everybody else. I just had to learn how to fit some foods into my goals, my specific nutritional intake that I needed, but still be able to sit down as a family dynamic and eat together and socialize together and have similar meals, which I learned a lot doing that. And I'm thankful that I went through that period of time because I did learn how to prioritize things and still balance a family dynamic, looking after dependents, children, and balancing a relationship with a partner too. I went through a period of time. Might sound like a shock, but I've definitely done that. Some people might not be surprised by that, knowing me, but I've definitely been there. So that's why I wanted to touch on that too, that you can't always just blame external factors for reasons you might be failing or falling off the bandwagon when it comes to your health and fitness goals, because a lot of the time it's more about priority, it's more about planning and the person that you really want to be. And I'll touch on this a little bit more as we continue. Now, this last point, not the last point, but one of the main points I wanted to touch on is sabotage. So I said at the start, I titled this episode, "Is Your Partner Sabotaging Your Help?" But your health. In some relationships, a partner may consciously or unconsciously be discouraging your healthy behaviors, perhaps due to insecurity, jealousy, or fear that the person will change. And I can relatably say that if you haven't been healthy before and you start to practice healthy habits and you get healthier, you get fitter, in a lot of ways you will change. I'm not saying you're going to completely change and you're never going to get along with your partner once you get fit and healthy, or things are just going to fall apart. I'm not saying that, but chances are you will change in many ways, not just physically but emotionally. Also, you're going to get healthier mentally, and this can be a great thing. This doesn't have to be a detrimental thing. This doesn't mean your relationship's going to be over. This could mean you're going to be an overall happier, healthier person and be a better parent or a better partner than you were. You're going to have more energy. You're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to be spreading, hopefully, more positivity throughout your household or your relationship. So it depends on how you look at it. I can speak from experience. Now, I don't want to throw anybody under the boat or go into too many details because it's unfair for previous partners that I've been with. So I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I've definitely had some conflicts, had some issues come up with insecurities, jealousy, and fear when it came to my healthy lifestyle habits and balancing my relationship with in different relationship with different people. Without going into too much detail, I can definitely say that at times it did cause some conflict. It was a big factor in some choices, some arguments, some conflict, some tension, and I guess seeing a future with somebody long term for many reasons. And that in a relationship, 50-50 when it comes to what you contribute, what you don't. as far as your, I guess, the life that you want to live, but also making compromises and being able to work through things together and encourage each other to be their best selves. So I've definitely been there, and luckily enough, now my beautiful fiance and myself have a really good balance, a really good relationship, and I think sometimes the only way you learn what a good, healthy, amazing relationship is to have failed relationships also, and experience those hardships and those difficulties, those down times, those hard times, and have these arguments or have these conflicts, and learn how to deal with them. And just like any other failure in your life, you can take them as lessons and move forward. And the next time you go through these things, you'll know what to expect, but you also know what you're looking for in a partner. You can't really know exactly what you're looking for in a relationship unless you've had something to compare it with sometimes. I mean, not all the time, but majority of the time, it's good to have some comparisons there, and learn these lessons so you can deal with these conflicts. Going a little bit Dr. Phil there, I'm sorry. I'm going to move on from there, but hopefully I'm making sense, and some of the points that I've touched on help with things you want to think about. And some big questions there, which I'm going to delve deeper into later on. Now, on the contrary to poor health and potential partner sabotage when it comes to your health and it being detrimental, on the contrary to that, there is studies, there is data, there is percentages that show people who are fit and healthy are also more likely, in contrary to people that are unhealthy. There's statistics there that say people will commonly, if they are unhealthy, their partner will be unhealthy also, which might sound a little bit confronting, but the reality is you become the people that you hang around most. And more than likely, if you have a long-term relationship and you're with somebody, you are going to have the same habits, the same lifestyles, and you are going to encourage the same actions, whether they are good or bad for your health. And I mean, take a look around, have a walk around, take notice of different couples, and you'll probably quickly see that my point is being made, that healthy or unhealthy habits usually reflect each other when it comes to couples. And that's why I wanted to go into the flip side of unhealthy relationships as far as health and fitness goes, eating habits, exercise habits. On the contrary to that, people who are fit and healthy are also more likely to have a partner with similar health and fitness characteristics. So the opposite is true also, and I can vouch for this completely with my fiance and myself. This phenomenon, is called assortative mating. Basically, people tend to partner with others who have similar lifestyles, activity levels, education, health behaviors, and often body weight. Now, body weight could be debated because on average, when it comes to male to female body weights, a lot of the time there's a huge difference in body weight. I know with my partner and myself, I'm definitely a lot heavier than she is. I have a lot more muscle on my body. I've worked out a lot longer, and she's shorter than me. I'm not trying to sound sexist or anything, but she is a female, and females tend to be a lot smaller in comparison to their male counterpart when it comes to body weight. I'm not saying this is for everybody, but on average, this is the case. Studies generally find physical activity levels are moderately correlated between partners. So if one exercises, they have a healthy lifestyle, the other tends to exercise. Healthy weight individuals are more likely to have healthy weight partners than overweight partners. Now, I was going to touch on my own personal relationship, but it's not always not always the case, but I can definitely say that as of now, with my fiance, we definitely live a similar lifestyle and have similar priorities when it comes to our overall health, which makes things so much easier, to be honest. It makes it so much better when you can not just easier, or I'm going to even say it's easier. It's just if you have your personal kind of your goals and the things that you want to prioritize, and your partner should encourage you anyway. Your partner should be there to support you, especially if you're doing something that is healthy for you, is going to make you happier and going to make you a better person. Then why wouldn't your partner want to support you? If they're not, then maybe that's something you have to think about and confront. And active people are significantly more likely to marry or form a long-term relationship with other active people. So you'll see a lot of couples, they run together all the time. They go to different events. You'll see now, especially with the uptake and popularity of high rocks, you'll see a lot of couples doing this activity together. Very like-minded as far as their goals and their fun and the things they like to do go. They'll do that, or you'll see gym couples going to the gym together, training together, walking together. These type of things, the same way it correlates with unhealthy relationships or couples, is the total opposite, or exactly the same, but the opposite result when it comes to living a healthy lifestyle. And from some statistics, depending on the population studied, roughly 50 to 70% of healthy weight adults have a healthy weight partner. And obviously this can change depending on country, age, and how healthy is defined also, which is something to take into consideration because different countries have a different view of what healthy is also. So I guess that's what I wanted to talk about as far as statistics go and correlating both sides. But like I said, people often choose partners with similar habits and values. And if those habits and values happen to change mid-relationship, it doesn't matter when, obviously this can cause a lot of conflict. This can cause a lot of tension. This can cause a lot of things that need to be worked out and talked about and communicated between two people, because partners highly influence each other's behavior over time. You might start as somebody who is not into the gym, somebody who doesn't eat predominantly healthy, and then it can be a positive thing if you end up in a relationship with somebody who is healthy. They might encourage you to be healthier, more physically active, and it might benefit you overall. But the opposite could happen also. You might get into a relationship, or you might be the person in the relationship that's unhealthy, practices unhealthy habits, isn't very active, and you can have that effect on your partner over time. This can cause conflict for sure. So this topic, I'm covering it light-hearted, I would say, and very generalized. And I didn't want to get too deep into this, but I want to give some examples of things that I've seen firsthand as a personal trainer for many years, as a nutritionist, that you might have to think about, might have to talk about with your partner. And I don't know, it might be something very difficult for you to do, but something I think is super important for the quality of your life and for the health of your relationship. Again, not trying to be Dr. Phil or Oprah here, but from personal experience and from everything that I've read, everything that I know about health and fitness and people, hopefully some of these things can be a talking point. You might even just simply get your partner to listen to this podcast, and it might help them, because there's good and bad in everything. There's good examples, there's negative examples, and I'm going to give a few now just to hopefully help you resonate with the topic. And these things you might have been through yourself. So I'm just going to finish my coffee and then I'm going to talk about it. Excuse the slurp if you hear it, if you're listening to this, if you're watching. Cheers to you. So some examples here. I've had this happen more than once. Now, before I say this, I don't want to discourage anybody to not come and train with me because of this example. I'd like to say it is a positive thing because I've gotten clients' results, but it has caused some conflicts over time. So I've had clients in the past that have come to me super overweight, or not even some mightn't be super overweight. They just might want to build some muscle. So I guess normal physique, but hadn't trained very often. Come to me, and maybe some of these people already had relationship issues, and this might have just heightened the issues, or for some kind of action, um, and for the person to bring up this topic, or to take some action in the relationship, or things that they weren't happy with, or to have the courage to move on potentially. But I've had clients in the past, both male and female, that have come to me, got themselves super fit and healthy, and over time have drifted away or had a breakdown in their relationship, not just due to getting fit and healthy and looking after themselves, but they've had mindset changes, a mindset shift, and have expressed to me that they felt more worthy, and realized they were worthy of more after having improved their health, and felt like they realized that the relationship that they were in was quite toxic or quite unhealthy, and a big reason for them getting to the point where they were very unhealthy, depressed, and feeling like they needed change. And it wasn't until they got themselves physically fit that the mental shift started to change, and they felt like they realized they needed a change in their relationship also, or they didn't want the relationship they were in. So by saying this, I'm not saying if you get fit and healthy, your relationship's going to break up, because it can be quite the opposite. I've had the opposite happen also, where it has completely strengthened relationships. You have a client come in and they train with you for a while, and they get the results they were after, and they become like 100 times better, 1,000 times better of a parent, 1,000 times better of a partner. Their healthy habits wash over into their family dynamic, and they start getting everybody in their family super healthy, and start implementing these habits into their own life, as well as their partners and their kids. And you're not just helping one person, you're helping a whole household, a whole family of people, just from them making that decision to get fit and healthy. So it can go both ways, is what I'm trying to say with this. It's not all doom and gloom. Not, if you end up unhealthy or end up healthy, I'm not saying that's going to dictate how your relationship is going to go. I'm just trying to say that based on your decisions and the things that you do and your actions, it is going to be a big factor in your relationship and how you feel. In saying that, you should never, this is a bit of a reality check too, but you should never blame your partner for your health status, for you individually. Unless you are completely 100% dependent on your partner, you can't physically eat your own food, or cook your own food, then you have no reason to use that as an excuse that your partner is sabotaging your health goals, because you are an adult majority of the time. If you're in a serious relationship, I know some people get into relationships a lot earlier, but if you're an adult in a relationship and you don't have the ability to choose what you eat, to choose a healthier lifestyle, to have time to exercise, then I would say that isn't a very helpful or very healthy relationship. If your partner isn't supporting your healthy habits and encouraging you, whether they want to exercise or not, whether they want to do the same, then that is not a good relationship to be in. I know there's plenty of couples out there also, one of the partners doesn't exercise at all. They don't really have a healthy relationship, but their partner super into their healthy lifestyle, super into running marathons or going to the gym, and they accept each other's differences. They accept that each other is doing what makes them feel best, and happy. And that's what's most important than anything else. Even though the statistics that I reeled off before show that you do become somewhat more of the person you hang around most of the time, it can go either way. Like I said, it is quite rare that you will live separate types of lifestyles and be happy with that, and everything is going to be okay, and there's not going to be any conflicts when it comes to that, because majority of the time you're going to go either way. You're going to gravitate to either side of the unhealthy or healthy lifestyle habits together. So that is my main point that I wanted to make on this. My main question that I'm going to finish with, so this podcast doesn't go too long. I'm not going to finish just yet, actually. There's a few more points I want to make, and then I'll finish with the main question that I started with. Ways you can help each other, because this is a health and fitness podcast. I want to give you ways that you can make it easier for you to stick to a healthy lifestyle and implement these habits into your life for yourself and your partner if they want to do it as well. You should never force anything on your partner either. You should never force them to do everything your way, because at the end of the day, we are individuals. We do have different things that we have as priority, different ways we feel we should live our lives, but you should be able to work something out. So if you do want to live a healthier lifestyle, you're choosing to do things that make you happier and healthier, there should be things you can put in place and structures you can put in place to ensure that happens without affecting the relationship in a detrimental way, to where somebody feels like they're losing you as a person, or they don't have time. You don't have the time to spend together because you're spending all your time worried about your own goals and being quite selfish. That should never be the way. There has to be some balance in there somewhere. Ways to do this is incorporating your nutritional habits and your goals with the main meals that maybe your partner cooks for you. So it could be as simple. This is the most simple way I've found from personal experience to stick to your goals. So I'll give my dad as an example. My father, luckily, he can't cook to save his life, so he does have a partner who cooks most of his meals for him. And there was a stage where he was getting cooked a heap of meals and he was putting on weight quite quick at the start of this relationship. His partner was certainly spoiling when it came to home cooked meals and making sure his meals were made, prepared ahead of time, doing an amazing job for him. But just making too much food, the serving sizes were enough to feed 4 people. So I guess out of care and love, the meals were actually sabotaging, there's that word again, unconsciously sabotaging my dad's health, and he was putting on a lot of weight. And an easy way to ensure that this didn't continue was simply just cutting down the serving sizes, making them a little bit smaller, and long behold, smaller serving sizes led to less calories consumed. The good thing about my dad is he does walk a lot. He tends to keep himself active by walking. He's not a gym goer like me, but he definitely walks a lot, and all he had to do to simply dial in his waistline a little bit, get back to a healthier weight, I just said, just half your serving size. That serving size you're having there is enough to feed 4 at least. Get a smaller plate, half your serving sizes, and you will lose weight. It's that easy. And I'm pretty sure his partner, she also did the same and lost like 15 kilos simply by regulating their serving sizes. So it doesn't have to be anything dramatic where you have to cook a whole separate amount of different meals with different foods all together and making it a headache at mealtime. It can be as simple as serving sizes, or it could be incorporating things into your meals. If there's not enough greens, just adding some greens on the side to your meals, adding some more protein as needed to your meals. If you're having a pasta, for example, just adding some chicken on the side or some extra mince into your meals can make a huge difference when it comes to sticking to your goals, and you're not doing something that is detrimental or feels offensive or or throwing a spanner in the works when it comes to your relationship and balancing that and looking out for each other's individual needs and wants. Exercise. Touched on nutrition. When it comes to your exercise, you should be able to find time where you can exercise when you're in a relationship. One of the best ways is simply to do it together. Obviously, going for walks together, booking in times to go to the gym. And I know I touched on this before when it comes to kids. If you are in full-time care of children, this can be quite hard. But just like anything else you do as far as your chores go or your errands or things, responsibilities that you take on, you should be able to slot in some time somewhere for some exercise, even if it's just a walk. If you can't find some time during the week, say 3 hours out of your week to do some form of exercise, and there's definitely some work that has to be done as far as your schedule, as far as your priorities and conversations with your partner. You should be able to encourage each other and prioritize them time slots for each other to be able to exercise, even if it's not together. If you do have kids, all the more reasons to get out and be active with your kids. Full of energy, you should be able to go out with them and shoot some hoops or kick the football and do push-ups in between. There's always ways you can incorporate exercise into your routine. Not only that, healthier people are happier people. So the more healthy you are and your partner is, the happier your relationship, the chances are, I should say, I'm not guaranteeing it, but chances are your relationship is going to be happier. You're going to feel better. You're going to be happier around each other, and you're going to be able to live a more fun, active lifestyle together. That's basically all I want to touch on there. I hope I've touched on everything that I kind of wanted to, and I hope I've covered this topic in a way that is helpful for you. I'm sorry if it's confronting for some people, but being healthy, being happy, looking after yourself does come down a lot of the time to your relationship also. The people that you choose to hang around, whether you're in a relationship or not, but majority of the time, if you're in a relationship with somebody, the person you choose to be in a relationship with, unfortunately or fortunately, is going to dictate your health, your habits, your lifestyle, the way you feel. You have to think about these things. And like I said before, I've tried and failed a few times myself personally, and now I'm very grateful, very happy that I'm in a relationship where I have an understanding with my partner of her goals and my goals, and making sacrifices for each other and making compromises for each other to ensure we can live our happiest and healthiest lifestyle together, and understanding each other in that way. My partner could easily, like I said, easily say, oh, Grant, he sabotages me all the time. He's always bringing home biscuits or wanting pizza or just non-stop eating. And I do make some compromises, or I do make some decisions during the day to ensure that I'm not putting too much pressure on my partner and I'm not causing those conflicts or making it harder for her to stick to her goals. I'll sneak in some snacks when she's at work. I'll eat a bigger meal when she's not around, just to make it easier for her so she doesn't feel like she's missing out on foods, or she feels pressured to share foods with me all the time. So I think I covered this before, but just little things to think about when it comes to this whole topic, balancing your relationship and your health goals. To finish up, I'm going to end with the title of this podcast, and you need to ask yourself this question, but I'm going to add another word into this title. Is your partner sabotaging your health? Question mark. I would add another word to that, maybe a confronting word, and maybe it's cause for conversation with your partner, and that is your partner really sabotaging your health? Or are you using your partner as an excuse to sabotage your own health? If you don't have a choice to make healthy choices, or you don't feel like you can, you don't feel like you're going to be allowed to exercise, you're going to be able to make healthier food choices, then it's not a good relationship. You're not in a good, healthy relationship, both physically and mentally, if you don't feel like you can make a change to improving and being able to, or allowed to. I shouldn't even have to say that, but you should feel like you will be supported and encouraged to live your happiest and healthiest life and be able to work out a way where you can both implement these things if you want to. That is my main message for this podcast. So ask yourself that question, add really, the word really in there, and it could be cause for some deep discussions, but hopefully it's something that you can listen to, maybe your partner can listen to, and it might make it easier for you to bring up these topics. And at the end of the day, that is my mission and my goal, is for you to live your happiest and healthiest lifestyle. So me covering this topic, hopefully it helps you have those tough conversations if you need to, but also helps you think about a few things that you might need to, that you've been putting off, that you've been ignoring over time. And I hope, if anything, it doesn't lead to a relationship breakdown, but it leads to strengthening of your current relationship or your next relationship. So if you enjoyed this podcast, as always, tag me on Instagram at GrantRobertsPT, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's podcast and found it helpful, share it on your Instagram story, and don't forget to tag me at GrantRobertsPT.